advancing the knowledge, and that's why your sector is crucially important, but it's just trying to shove that under the nose of policymakers and politicians to try and improve that.
Mark has remembered what he forgot.
Just as a correlate on the previous points that was made, I'm very sympathetic to the point that it is very difficult to encapsulate complex and nuanced academic work in a 5 bullet point text box. I think you should rightly be concerned that politicians reading out a core result, if they like it, will run with it, despite the fact that in your paper there might be a whole page or 2 pages or a whole academic paper on the qualifications to that point, the research you haven't done, etc. We've seen that with the government, with the KPMG study, who have used the £15 billion quite liberally, whereas the people who produce that research have said actually it's a work in progress. I think that is something we have to be very mindful of when writing and communicating with politicians. It's a challenge that we need to balance against the wish to have greater impact.
Okay, I think we can probably do one more contribution from you. Jackie.
Just a quick question from Naomi. From your research, is there evidence that academics would be better to limit their media exposure? And I say this because, I've done research on compulsory voting and I've spoken about it on the media. I've also done some research on young people and politics. And then the local television, they rang me up and asked me to come on and talk about, of all things, it was topless car washing in Skegness. And from a feminist perspective, so a feminist critique of topless car washing, which I did. And then afterwards I thought, maybe I'm becoming like Rent-A-Quote. And I thought afterwards, limiting your media exposure might be just as good a way of kind of maintaining your expertise in a particular area.
To be honest, it's not something that I think you could take necessarily from our data, any sort of conclusions on that. We do look within it about the possibility that academics might feel like the media sort of twisted a little bit what they said, or overly dumbing down areas which we look at, which interestingly actually academics didn't feel that was necessarily particularly a problem. Like, there wasn't a particularly strong feeling. There was a feeling that people had to be sort of concise and clear, but there wasn't a lot of sort of feeling that the media would maliciously come in to sort of twist things around. So I don't know if you could necessarily take any fines on that. Maybe we approached it ever so slightly from the perspective that media exposure was a good thing for your university and stuff, because that is something we did include, like, why would you want to be on the media? It's good for my university, it's good for my career. But yeah, and predominantly academics said that they really wanted to get their message out there.
But it was almost
further research.
Once they get your name, they seem to come and ask you about everything.
We did find evidence, like when we were talking to people from the media, that there was this kind of virtuous circle, we called it, of like a group of people, and that the easiest thing to do was when they heard something go, whoever was on that programme last week, we'll get them in. And I think a particular academic actually had their name mentioned unprompted by several of the people we interviewed. They're like, we'll just call this person, that would be the easiest thing for us. So there certainly was this idea that, but we also found evidence that there was new openings. There was the possibility, if they couldn't think of someone, they'd go to their laptop. But
thank you. I suspect topless car washing in Skegness is that other on the table. We've come to the end of our time. I wanted to thank Naomi in particular for coming here and talking about that research. We really appreciate that, and I think we found it very illuminating. As for our other panellists, I think the invitation is, I'm sure I can say this on your behalf, get in touch with them. If you think that you or your colleagues have research which might be of benefit to their work. And when I say that in respect of Mark, I think I say that in respect of all select committees in Parliament, most of which, as far as I can see, are as open as you are to the input that we can bring. So having said all of that, let's thank them all.